Hey everyone, and welcome back to another King Arthur Legends Rise video. So in today's video, guys, we're going to be talking about the legendary hero Aine. This hero is so good. I slept on her for way too long, but in my defense, I really don't think she becomes like top tier until you have her Chivalry 3. But once you have her Chivalry 3, it is leagues and leagues above the base character that you get. So let's talk about her base form real quick in the Codex so we understand what the Chivalry 3 gets us, okay? So if we bump this down to Chivalry 1, okay. So her baseline passive here on her first one is called Torrent of Mana. And it says when using skill 3, it attacks all enemies 2 times, and it does a small damage multiplier of 78%. However, being able to have additional damage just on a passive, it's always a good thing. And her cooldown for this is actually 6 turns, but you can scale it down to 4. Now, her second passive is amazing. It says when using skill 2, 100% chance to grant all allies counterattack trigger rate increase 2 for 2 turns. This is 40%. So anytime she uses her skill 2 and this is off cooldown, all of your characters will have a 40% chance to counterattack when they're hit for 2 turns. And then she also grants them a 100% chance of gaining critical strike damage increase 2 for 1 turn. And you can, so it starts at 4 and you can scale it down to a 3-turn cooldown, which you 100% should do. The critical strike damage increase, 2, is actually 60%. So 60% crit damage up for 1 turn. So very strong passive. And we're going to talk about this more when it comes to the chivalries. And then her third passive says when an ally is hit, a 60% chance to increase the duration of buff effects on all allies in its baseline 1 turn. But as you see, you can scale it up to 2 turns. So 60% chance to increase the duration of all buffs by 2 turns whenever an ally is hit. This is so good. This passive is amazing. So it ties in to your second passive, right? So this critical strike damage increase 2 for 1 turn is kind of rough. But if you have this skilled up, it could go up to 3 turns with the counterattack trigger for 4 turns. Like, this is, her skills are so important. They are so important, but they are so good. So she comes with a baseline Frost Relic, and her attack 1, which does matter considering she has the ability to give herself counterattack triggering, right? So her basic attack on her Frost Relic is a 35% chance to grant abnormal status immunity to a random ally. Abnormal status is a very prominent kind of debuff in this game when it comes to bosses, especially the 2 dungeons that are for books and then also for skills, the talismans. So she's actually pretty good in those dungeons, and I use her, and I'll show you a clip of me running her. So her skill 2 on her Frost Weapon, which is the thing that activates her second passive, is 100% chance to remove a debuff. It's 1 debuff baseline, but you see you can actually dispel up to 3 if you have the books to do this, which most people won't for a while. And it also has a chance to remove 1 damage over time from each ally. So on her skill 2, you're removing 1 debuff and 1 damage over time from each ally. And then if this is on, if this is off cooldown, you're also granting counterattack and crit damage up, all on the skill 2. And then you also have a chance, it's 60%, to grant each ally attack increase 2. So just like huge buffs. Like, this hero is an amazing support character. Amazing. And then her third skill, which ties into her first ability, right? The AoE attack. You gain defense increase 2, effect resistance increase 2, and it grants all allies DOT immunity for 2 turns. Now you have to book those up, but it's a baseline 1 turn, and then you can book it up to 2 turns. This is fantastic. This hero has amazing buffs, amazing passives, and she's probably the best support in the game, I would think. I doubt it's even close. A lot of people kind of discredit support heroes that aren't Morgan just because, they go 2 damage dealers, a healer, and then Morgan. Like, that's their whole team. But I think that's why heroes like Aine get slept on. So now let's talk about, how much the chivalries matter, okay? Because we talked about how good the passives were. So if you look at her chivalries, all right? So her first chivalry is Fey Queen's Authority, which is her 3rd skill. So whenever an ally is hit, if she has Chivalry 1, it also removes a debuff from all allies. So at a 50% chance, actually, the 50% isn't tied to the debuff, sorry, the cooldown. So when an ally's hit, it removes a debuff from all allies. So that's just guaranteed. That's an amazing Chivalry 1, right? So then her Chivalry 2. Torrent of Mana, damage increases according to effect resistance. So her 3rd ability, whenever she's activating skill 3 and she's doing that double hitter for the 78% attack, now for every stat of effect resistance that she has, it actually adds an additional percentage of attack multiplier damage on here. So if she has 30 effect resistance, it'll then do 108% damage on her skill 3. So this could end up hitting pretty hard. So that's her second one. Her third one, this is the one that is just game changing. So it triggers Ancient God's Favor at the start of the battle. So this passive will be active at the start of the battle. This is really important for, all of these end game kind of boss dungeons, because a lot of those bosses go first. Their speeds are very, very high, and they'll end up getting some kind of attack in. So starting with this, where all of your allies have the ability to counter attack them and just hit for really big chip damage, land some, nice debuffs or something that they have on their skill 1, absolutely huge. That's why the 3rd Chivalry is great, and I think it's super important. And something that some people don't know is whenever it says, whenever a skill says at the start of battle, each wave, if there are two stages within a dungeon or something like that, this will trigger on stage 1 and will also trigger on stage 2, and we'll show that. So it's awesome. And then her Chivalry 4 is anytime she counterattacks, instead of counterattacking with her basic attack, which is that abnormal status immunity, she'll end up attacking with her skill, with her Torrent of Mana, which is the AoE that scales off of effect resistance. So her chivalries are just great. And the nice thing is after the 4th chivalry, it doesn't really matter. The additional stats are always great, but her Chivalry 8 is not really that great. So yeah, huge boost. The other thing that I kind of like about this character is she doesn't have any debuffs that she applies on people. So you don't have to build her with effect accuracy. Effect accuracy is so annoying. All you want her to do is have very high effect resistance, right? To make her first passive do a lot of damage. And then also allow her to resist any of those debuffs or abnormal status effects. So you're actually able to either put up buffs or you're able to cleanse some of the debuffs or DOTs without being, controlled. Also, on her Fire Relic, she has the ability to remove abnormal status on each ally, which is really great. There's not a lot of people in the game that have this at 100%. Jillian has it on her passive, but other than that, I think it's just like a percentage, 60% or something on other characters. So the Fire Relic's also pretty good, and instead of attack up, she gives attack speed increase too. So just throwing that out there. Her other relics are also pretty good, but her baseline is still extremely solid. This hits very, very hard. So yeah, I think she's easy to kind of gear. Whenever I show my heroes, like my heroes are absolutely terrible. The gearing, all of the equipment that I have is garbage. Like, look at her attack speed. I've seen some content creators show attack speeds of like 260. I'm just like, what the heck? How are people doing this? But anyway, I still haven't passed like certain dungeons, so I've got a long way to go. I'm still early to mid game. But I have her built in just really high tanky HP with as much effect resistance as I could get with a little bit of damage here and there. But yeah, she's purely support. So let's talk about some of the areas, right? She is the sole reason that I was able to beat Plane of Beast 4. This is not consistent. 4. Plane of Beast 10. I don't know why I said 4. Now, this isn't consistent or anything at all. I literally just beat this stage so I could continue on the Path of Power here. I wanted to clear this so I could get some of these rewards. But yeah, I used her to beat Plane of Beasts because I just went in here with her Chivalry 3 to activate the Ancient's God Favor and hope I got lucky with my counterattack triggers, from my Rosalie, from my Morgan, from my Tristan, to get the boss down far enough so I could just kill him really fast. And that's exactly what happened. But I'm sure there are ways to get this more consistent. Like, once my team is a little stronger, a little better stats and all of those things, I'm guessing she will just be a complete powerhouse for speedruns. You can also use her in Gorgos. In Gorgos, she has the counterattack and she removes DOTs. So she has the ability to remove DOTs and she has the ability to also put up DOT immunity, which is very similar to like Merlin. You'll see a lot of teams with Merlin because he has DOT immunity. Now, granted, Merlin has it on his skill 2, where she needs to use her skill 3, so it's a little more vigor intensive. But still, she's an option here. Frozen Plain, again, like positive, a neutral element, so she also works here. Again, just really boosting up the damage stats of all of my heroes to help me kill Aldri quicker. And then Shrine of Storms, if you have her in that Fire Relic, which I thankfully do, you can actually use her here too, because she gives your team attack speed up. And as I mentioned in yesterday's video, this cat just goes so fast. So you either need to kill it fast or you really need to control the attack meter. And even in yesterday's video, I was talking about a couple different heroes that have, speed. They're reducing the attack gauge on their skill 1 attack. So if you have Aine in here with her counterattack trigger up, someone like Claudius has the ability to reduce the attack gauge whenever the boss attacks with the counterattack. So that's pretty awesome. She's also amazing in all of these equipment dungeons. I'll show you a clip of the speed dungeon here. I don't have clips of these other two, but she's certainly good in these other two as well. A lot of these dungeons, this one probably requires a Fire Relic because he has a lot of abnormal status, and on her skill 2, she removes abnormal status, so she's going to be amazing here. And then this one, I think, is damage over time, or is it also... No, there is some abnormal status. Protection, silence... Yeah, so maybe she's not so good here. Anyway, I think you can still use her to cheese stuff with her counterattacking. But let's roll some clips about Nest the thing about Nest, at least on Nest 8, if you don't have someone like Sigrund and you do have a Bedivere, right? I think most people tend to have Bedivere. Even if they don't, if you just want to run, some type of raw damage, if you have somebody like Cormac in his Frost Relic, he's a semi-okay replacement for Bedivere. You can also run, the new hero Irrit alongside someone like, I don't know, Morgan. This might be enough damage as well. But I'm going to show you a run with Bedivere. We'll talk about some of the skills, and then we're going to showcase her as well just show some of her mechanics and the way that she interacts in Master of Death. So first, let's start with the equipment dungeon. All right, so here's the team. You got Bedivere, Irrit, you got Morgan, and then Aine. We're prioritizing the boss. Now, the first thing you'll see is like the counterattack and crit damage goes up. Now, this is huge, and this is kind of the skill layout that I'm using. So I want to prioritize Aine's skill 2, but she has the counterattack up. See? So right there was her Torn of Mana where she did the AoE attack instead of her basic ability. And you just see Irrit is actually just crushing people because he has the crit damage up and it's just the crit damage up, but then he also has his own buffs. So here we got lucky and landed the mark with Irrit, which is really helpful because if not, the boss ends up putting up the evasion buff and all of those things. But you see here, I get 3 counterattacks from my heroes, and we're just melting this boss mainly because we're putting up, those really great buffs from the rest of the team. We're just like destroying the wings here. We're getting the boss down to the very last checkpoint, and then we're just finishing him off with Bedivere and Irrit. So yeah, just fantastic support. Like, I never thought that she would speed things up like this, but she does. So next clip. Okay, so this is Master of Death. This is where you get the talismans, and we show things a little bit more in here. So again, she starts with her second passive, right? Which is your counterattack, which we show here. It's the 40% chance to counterattack, and then the crit damage is at the top, which is 60% crit damage to all of your members. So insane buff right off the get-go. So you'll see how much Rosier does. She almost one-shots the leg on her own, and that's all thanks to Aine. So you see here that the skill 2 is actually off cooldown because we start with it at the start of the battle, and you'll see when we move into the next wave that she'll also put it back up. You saw it with the dragon on the equipment dungeon, but we'll see it here again. So here she's using her skill 3. You're going to see the AoE damage along with the DOT, all of that nice stuff. Sadly, I don't have her maximized for damage like with crit rate or anything like that. So that attack actually doesn't do too much, but I'm showing here the DOT immunity that she puts up on people and just all of the other different buffs. So yeah, we'll fast forward through this now, and we'll show you the next fight. So as we're speeding through this, I just want you to pay attention to, how quickly the boss dies, from counterattacks, from all of the buffs that we have up on all of our heroes, and it's just all because of Aine. So yeah, that's the main purpose of this clip, is to just show you all of the additional damage that she can bring to your team if you don't have like 2 damage dealers or something like that. So yeah, I just wanted to showcase that. So anyway, this is the next boss now, and the thing that I want you to pay attention to is right at the start of it, all of the buffs end up getting put back on. So even though her chivalry says at the start of battle, it doesn't matter because each wave counts as a battle, right? So here, this is where, your abnormal status immunity kind of matters. because the boss does have like brainwash, he's got stun, all of those things. But more importantly, once you actually get the boss down past his second, once you get him past 50% HP, he regrows his limbs and he actually does a lot of damage. So you want to try and kill those limbs as quickly as you can. And you see here, like, the damage output from Rosier, because of her buffs, she's, again, almost one-shotting limbs. And if I had better gear, I'm sure she could. But that's all I really wanted to showcase here. And this is, I think, stage 7. So it's mid-game. You know, I've said even at the beginning of this video, my gear isn't that great. I still have a lot of work to do, but I'm still able to progress through some of these areas because of heroes like Aine that I really would have discredited at first. But nothing else, you know, to see here. We can just end the clip. I ended up beating this guy, but it's the same kind of stuff. You just keep putting up your buffs, you know, make your damage dealers kill people, have enough healing, and use Morgan to really amplify your damage. But that's all I got. You know, guys, don't sleep on Aine if you have her. If you have multiple copies, don't worry. She is an absolute beast. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll catch you on the next one. See ya.